This is Steve Barnes here with Life Writing Live. Please bear with us. As I've said before, we're using a different technology right now. It's going to take us a little time to get used to it. But the intention rather, is to provide better service to you guys, to be able to communicate with you better. And even though can be a little bit more difficult for me to speak to you right now, let me try this. I'm gonna try something a little bit over here with my computer and see what is happening. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, okay. So it looks as if this is going okay. It looks as if this is going okay. So what I wanted to do is to, let's see, what I want to do. I want to mute the video that I've got here, boom, and be able to take a look at your comments and also just kind of be able to move forward. So once again, please forgive me. But allow me to tell you, first of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Stephen Barnes, New York Times bestselling writer, father and husband and martial artist. And I'm creator of a technology that I call life writing, which is the application of Joseph Campbell's model of the hero's journey to living life in advance, to be able to see what the challenges are in advance. But that still leaves the question of what are the challenges? Now, I think that Dr. Milton Erickson, who was the world's greatest hypnotist, according to many people who I respect, felt that there was a very specific progression that human beings move through in life. And it was from basic understanding and mastery of their physical body and their physical environment up to being able to control their sexuality, to be able to exchange goods and services with their communities so as to produce enough money to support themselves, to open their hearts and to be able to create healthy, loving relationships, to be able to speak their truth, to be able to learn to distinguish what is and is not true, develop a map of the universe, to be able to pass these things that they've learned to their children, to be able to age with dignity, die at peace. Now, he said that. Abraham Maslow said something very, very similar. And both of these things connect to a much older pattern, which is the yogic chakras. Now, once again, I always apologize. I am not an artist. So this is somebody sitting in a full lotus position. So these are their knees and they're sitting here. And that's their smiling face right there. Okay. Smiling face right there. So the yogic chakras are a map. They're a metaphor for the different levels that we move through as we advance in life. So let's say that there are 7 of them. Muladhara, Svasthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Anja, and Sahasrara. This is core survival down here, sexuality, power, and these are connected, combined into what is referred to as the belly brain, belly. The heart center and the throat center are the emotions. This is emotions, and this is communication. This is the heart center. And the intellect and the spirit are the head center. So 7 can seem a little bit complicated, but if we simplify it down to just 3 centers, it might be a little bit easier for you to look at. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do in here, but basically I'm not going to talk about the chakras. We're going to talk about the 3 centers, the belly, brain, the heart center, and the head center. Now, there's another thing that I've been playing with over the last weeks. And by the way, before I go any further, what I wanted to say is that once again, we're experimenting with this technology today. The session today will be relatively short because I want to make sure that everything is working right, that everything is working together. We're wiring together 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 different pieces of software to make this work. And so keeping my fingers crossed that everything is going to be fine. So belly, brain, heart center, head center. But there's something else that we have been playing with over the last few weeks, and that is what's called the 3 gates. And it's Middle Eastern. I've certainly spoken of Buddhism's 8-fold path. to awakening. But the three gates are standards that one attempts to hold one's speech to and one's actions to. And they're very, very useful. The three gates are: is it true? Is it useful? And is it kind? Now, when you look at these three gates, I find it very interesting that to me, they would seem to map over with these areas. In other words, the belly brain is where you go if you need to know what is true. If you ask your instincts a yes or no question, your belly brain can answer that once you learn to kind of tune in to that. And it will answer without any BS. It won't tell you what your ego wants to know. You will get a flash and you will either pay attention to it or you won't. You know, if you pay attention to it, you'll find that you are starting to calibrate your intuition. So this is a center of intuition down here. Intuition. Rather, sorry, this is instinct down here. Instinct. And up here in the head, this is intuition. Okay, so there is an entire system of thought and development that suggests that what we're trying to do in the higher ranges of the martial arts is to connect animal instinct with divine intuition, to become human animals. It's a very interesting perspective. I would suggest that it could be useful to look at it and just kind of hold it as a possibility without being dogmatic about it. But if you say, is it true, is it useful, is it kind? Note that if this is where we go to find out truth, so this is it true? Is it true? This would be, is it useful? Because the brain calibrates things. It takes a look at hunting and gathering, career, education, things like that. And it makes plans. You know, is this a useful thing to do? Is this efficient? Is this effective? But notice, is it kind? That would be the heart center. Kind. So if we said, is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Interesting. Slight shift in the syntax. I don't see any reason to think that we are ruining anything thereby. It seems to me that what we're doing is we are just changing an order, which allows us to think about this truth down here in the belly brain, kindness in the heart and the throat center. Notice that, are the words kind? You know, are the actions and the words kind? Action would be down here. Words would be up here. The emotions are here. And is it useful? Is it something that is a useful thing for you to do? Being able to tell the difference between something that is useful and something that is not useful, something that is kind and something that is mean or hurtful, something that is true and something that is a lie. If you're into politics, you would probably know that a lot of things politicians say might be in the category of useful lies. They're great for getting their followers stirred up, but in terms of does it actually help you to understand the world better? No, not really. By the way, there's a bunch of people that have signed in. Happy Friday, and Aaron James Campbell and Tom Barkley, Stuart Jaffe and Stan Hyde, Jim Mason and Paul Rivera and Raleigh Freeman, Peter Tobin, and my gosh, and Karen DeWitt, Fabricia Vulpa, and John and Vera and all sorts of fun people. I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining us. Pardon me if it's a little bit clumsy today. We will get more professional as we go, but today is sort of an inauguration. So is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? If you start with this, if the first gate is it true? That maps over very nicely with what, let's say, Musashi Miyamoto said in a Book of Five Rings. He has 9 principles in there. Do not think dishonestly. The way is in training. Become acquainted with every art. Know the ways of all professions. Distinguish between gain and loss in worldly matters. Develop intuitive judgment and understanding for everything. Perceive those things which cannot be seen. pay attention to even little things, and do nothing which is of no use. Now you'll notice that all 9 of those are about, is it true and is it useful? There is no kindness in there, but then again, he's a warrior. And just one of the greatest warriors in world history, and to our knowledge had no family. He was a sword that was consistently sharpening itself. So the question of is it true is important. The question of is it useful is important, but his heart was not necessarily open. On the other hand, he was also an artist. He created he did pen drawings, and he did carvings. So it is arguable that he was engaged in that artistic process, which does engage the heart. It's just that it was not present in a book of 5 rings. The closest thing he comes to it that I can think of is to exist for the good of man. He said that, and I find that to be laudable. But for those of us who wish to live in the world, who wish to have families, who wish to have love, I think that it is very important for us to open our hearts. That there is more to the world than mere utility. There is compassion, there is caring, there is giving to one another. So if we think about these 3 things, belly brain, instinct, truth, heart center, kindness, openness, emotional openness, head center, intuition, utility. Now we have an entire human being. Now we have everything that a human being is on the most basic level. And I think that we can move from that place and begin to progress further. We can take additional steps. So one of the things I wanted to ask you to do is to look at these 3 centers. Now, let's say you were a writer, and a writer would look at these 3 centers in terms of their characters. What's my character's physicality? How do they make their way in the world? What is their sexual orientation and level of sexual energy? This stuff down here, their sense of power. What are their emotions? Are they healthy emotionally? Do they communicate clearly? Do they learn rapidly? And in terms of their head, how do they learn? It's similar to the 5th chakra here, which is about speaking and learning. But the head center, the intellectual center, the 6th chakra, would be more of how do you form your maps of reality? Once you have taken in information here, how did you shape it to help you understand the way the world works? Now, if you are learning here and you're constantly checking your learning by comparing your results to the real world, now you're relatively safe. You're relatively safe. You're kind of okay if you do that. So what I wanted to look at was, what if we look at the belly brain, heart center, head center in the framework of, is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? One of the things that I'm hoping to do every week is to rotate between the different major areas of concern: personal development, just life in general, family and relationships, so forth, martial arts and physical things, and writing and artistic things. That if we rotate between those, I think that we are best set up to be able to have a useful inquiry. And one of the things I want to do every week is to give you a tool, give you a specific tool that you can use, or to show you how these different tools interact with each other. Because there are, the life writing discipline has countless tools, but they're all different ways of looking at the same thing in a way, if that makes sense to you. So what I wanted to do is to create a grid here. Good, and it worked, because I had to figure out the way to keep this from mirroring the camera, so everything comes in here backwards. Red room. So we have here. So down here is head center, heart center, belly brain, and across the top here is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Okay. So look at each of these in turn. If during your meditations, because we have a couple of basic things that I really want you to consider doing. One of them is to, every 1 to 3 hours, stop for 60 seconds and do deep, slow diaphragmatic belly breaths. That is to create a, a safe space within you where you can think, you can feel, you can begin to uh, calm yourself. You're not hitting your fight or flight switch. Your reticular activating mechanism isn't obsessed with survival. Your amygdala is not pumping fear hormones into you. You're sitting in the eye of the storm, and you're breathing. The next progression beyond that is called the morning ritual, where you are expanding one of those spaces out. You are moving, you're visualizing, you're chanting affirmations. Now, what if, while you are checking in with yourself with each breath, you're thinking about your belly brain, your heart center, your head center? You might envision a glass tube filled with water, and there's glitter suspended in the water. Wait for it to settle to the bottom. That's very interesting, especially once your brain makes a connection between the amount of glitter in the water and your sense of emotional calm. So that you literally can wake up in the morning and see a glass tube suspended, with water, filled with water, with glitter suspended in it. And if you can get the glitter to settle to the bottom, what that means is that your mind has calmed itself. So you're just creating a visual metaphor. But while you're doing that, what would happen if you thought about your belly brain and you thought about it, so each of these, they're survival, sexuality, power. And you asked yourself in each of these arenas, this whole arena of sort of the animal survival part of you, is it true that, for instance, you have the right to survive? You have the right to be here. You have the right to thrive. Is that true? Because if you don't believe that, a lot of things are going to be very difficult for you. If you don't believe that you have the right to be here, you're playing a losing game. Um, you have absorbed concepts from people who did not love you, and it's going to be very difficult for you to move forward in your life because you're not going to feel that you deserve it, and furthermore, you're not going to feel safe. So is it true that you have the right to be here? Is it true that you would fight for yourself? Is it true that sexuality is a natural, healthy gift to be shared between adult human beings? Is it true that you have the right to have the power to control your life, to live in your home on your terms, to raise your children in the way that feels most appropriate to you? Is that true? Is it kind? Are you being kind to yourself, for instance, by eating properly, by exercising, by getting enough rest? Are you being kind? Are your sexual relationships kind? Are they responsible? Are you caring? Do you care for your partners? Are you kind to yourself in the sense of treating yourself with self-respect? How about your use of power, your acquisition of power? Are you kind in that arena? Do you acquire power to hurt people? Do you do it to protect people? What is that about for you? Is it true? Is it kind? And is it useful? Do you use your body? Do you feed your body? Do you rest your body? Do you exercise your body in ways that are useful to accomplish the things that you want it to do? Your sexuality, is it useful in the sense of, well, are you dumping stress, for instance? At the very least, it's that. But sexuality probably reaches its height when you have a relationship with someone and your connection with them on that level is deepening your sense of them. You're deepening your sense of commitment to them. So if you're looking at usefulness, is the power useful? Is your sexuality useful? Are the actions you take to enhance your survival useful? Okay, just look at those. Look at all three. Look at all three true useful kind connected to the belly brain. Now let's take a look at the heart center. Is it true that the heart wants what it wants? Yeah, probably so. We have attractions to people. that we can't necessarily control. But if you're also thinking, is it kind to get into a relationship that is non-optimal, that can't go anywhere, to encourage someone to open their heart and love you if you're not prepared to actually nurture that relationship? Is it kind? Is it useful to get into a non-useful or a non-useful? That's automatically a non-starter. Is it useful to get into a relationship that you sense is not healthy for you? No. It may be fun. The heart may want what it wants. But unless you line up what the heart wants with what the body needs and where the head is going, you got problems. The heart wants what it wants. Every child wants to stay in bed all day and eat screaming yellow zonkers or whatever, whatever the candy or cereal is, instead of eating healthy food and doing homework and going to school. We have to discipline that part of ourselves. And the same thing is going to be true of our own hearts. What about communication? And this, of course, is where is it true, is it useful, is it kind, really shines. Because if you look at the words you say, are you speaking your truth as clearly as you can, given your current amount of knowledge and your wisdom? You're looking at patterns from the past. Are your words kind? Are they designed to insult people? Are they designed to lift people up? Have you taken into account the fact that you're speaking with another human being? If you say things that are unkind, is it kind to tell someone that their hair is on fire? Sure. Is it kind to tell someone that their fly is unzipped? Yes, even if it's a little embarrassing for them. But if you're saying something and there is no utilitarian purpose for that, if it's not the kind of thing that they're going to thank you for, if you say to somebody, your baby is ugly, you think they don't know that? You think that they have not made their peace with the fact that their child is not the most beautiful child in the world? Are you really accomplishing something? Why exactly do you feel like you needed to say that? True, kind, rather useful, kind, true. Up here, head center. Now, this is thought. This is developing a map of the world, okay? Is it true? In order to know whether or not your maps of the world are true, they have to be connected with reality somehow. You have to have some way of testing them. It's if I do this, what are the results I would expect to get? You do it. Did you get the results you expected? It's kind of simple, really. And sometimes you're going to have to take risks and do things that you do not have any precedent for. You have not experienced it before. You're going to have to try it and see what happens. And once you've seen what happens, then going forward from there, you'll be able to have a higher level of reliability, confidence in the actions that you take. Spirit, the seventh chakra up there, Muladhara, Svasana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Anja, and Sahasrara. In Sahasrara, the spirit, you'll notice that it's outside the realm of the body. It is the halo. It is the aura. It is what is outside our physical experience. It is the sum total of things. So when one thinks about one's spirituality, what was the shape of your face before your parents were born? Where are you going to go after you die? Those kinds of questions. What's more important to you than your own life? Those kinds of questions are answered in the realm of the spirit. And so thinking, is it true in the realm of the spirit? You're not going to be able to suss it out in terms of scientific evidence. Very few spiritual belief systems are grounded in science. However, faith has its place. Not everything that we have or know or can be in life is going to be determined by what we can logically prove, determined by experience. It's just, we just can't. So you could say, for instance, based upon what I have seen, based upon what I feel, I have faith that such and such is true, that there is a benevolent God and that the universe is benevolent, or that there is whatever it is that you say. Now, given that belief system, you then can say, if that is true, I would expect X, Y, and Z. You'll never be able to prove it ultimately, especially to someone who does not have the same feeling. That's what faith is about. It's evidence of things unseen. What is the truth about what you think ultimately about the ethical structure of the universe? What is the truth ultimately about what you think about the religion that you are born into or the one that you have accepted as yours? What is the truth about these things? You ground it in reality as much as you can. Maybe your truth is we live, we're born, we live, we die. And that's a perfectly good starting point. And from there, you say, I want my life to be meaningful, or you say, I want to enjoy life as much as I possibly can while I'm here. Whatever it is that is your faith about what this all means, separate that if possible from the evidentiary part of your belief system and say, this is what I believe. This is my faith. This is why I believe it. But you don't have to get into conflict. You don't have to prove that to somebody else. You're just saying, I'm living my life in this context. Is it true? Is it kind? Do your spiritual beliefs embrace humanity? Do they make the world a better place? Do they express love? Do they encourage people to share? Do they encourage people to forgive themselves and to forgive others? But at the same time, of course, you have to be connected with this down here, the belly brain, because that's your survival place. That's the place that you have to be connected to in order to be safe in the world. But given safety, if you are connected to your safety, then you can open your heart and open your spiritual self. So is it useful to have a spiritual belief system? I think that the majority of the world, through the majority of human history, has said yes. I think that it is not useful to be dogmatic about it. It's not useful to impress your spiritual beliefs on other people, but it is a useful thing. If you don't believe it's useful, then you're going to have to deal with that. Let's see, do we have any questions here? If you have any questions for any of this, hello, Stephen. Hey, Professor Barnes. Friday, happy Friday, all that good stuff. So what I wanted to do was to encourage you to think about the three sinners and the three gates. Is it true? Is it useful? Is it kind? And ask yourself what happens if you create yourself a little chart and you put, let's see, you put the centers on this side and you put, is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful across the top? And then look at each aspect of who you are. Look at them and ask yourself those questions. How are you addressing the different aspects of what you are? When you start taking different models of what it is that we are and contrasting them with each other, I believe that useful things are revealed. And so long as you continue to ask yourself, is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? It's very difficult to go wrong. You're not going to be mean to other people. And if you have opened your survival place, then you are going to take care of yourself. You're going to take care of yourself. You're going to take care of the people around you. And you're going to grow in being a loving, giving person. And as your energies raise, because as you improve your physical energies here and open up your heart, you've got the physicality and you've got the motivation to back it up. Okay, so you're turning yourself into a mean, a lean, mean living machine, as it were. So anyway, like I said, I'm testing these technologies today, the computer technologies. Everything seems to be working all right. I'll be taking a look at the video. Let me take a look and see if I can read comments here. Okay, there haven't been many comments, but this is all good. And if there are comments, I will try to address them later on. But right now, what I'd like to say is I hope you're going to have a wonderful weekend. What I'm hoping to do is to do this every Friday at this time. Now, I will be taking suggestions from people about better times. Maybe it'd be better to do it on the weekend. Maybe better to do it during the middle of the week at a different time. I will be looking at this, but we're going to focus down until we've got some sort of a regular communication so that I am seeing your questions. And so somebody says, Paul Carvey says, sounds good. Picture's a tiny bit blurry. Try to work on that. I'll try to, you know, maybe we'll hardwire the video. You know, I understand that that's a smarter thing to do. So once again, I apologize. You know, there's a whole bunch of different things that I'm juggling at one time to make this happen. And if it's non-optimal, you know, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. But I do love you guys. I want very much to be able to communicate with you as directly as possible to answer any questions that you have. Um, and to remind you to breathe, you know, every 1 to 3 hours, 60 seconds of deep, slow, diaphragmatic belly breathing will help put you in the eye of the storm. That's where we started, and give you a chance to enjoy the life that you deserve. So you're very, very welcome. It's wonderful to be here. I will see you again next week. If you're interested in being on the mailing list for this or getting our book, The 5 Minute Miracle on Breathing, just go to 5minutelifehacks.com. Other than that, I'll see you next week. And make sure that you send me any inquiries you have about any aspect of this so that we can be as, you know, be of service to you as much as possible. Take care, guys.